started. Let me check. Yes. So now I expect all things are now well. So my slides now it should be visible to all. Right. Previously there was some issue with these slides. Okay. So let me now go to what we have done yesterday. So yesterday we have discussed a very important theoretical concept which can be used in practice, and that is called capital market line, where we have the risk-free security with interest rate or with return RF, which may be included in our portfolio, or if it is not in our portfolio, there is always a risk-free rate that exists in the market, which I introduced yesterday is a GSEC rate. And I told you everyone to look at the website of Bloomberg or other website where you can find the GSEC. Even it is available on NSE or BSE and the other websites, other private website also, or money control also you can check. So presently it is around 6.1%. So that risk-free rate exists in the market from the government bonds. So if you buy some government bonds, this rate without any taking risk you will get definitely, right? This is a deterministic quantity. So your portfolio should give you return more than this, right? That is the main objective. And we have to include this term RF in our, you can say, model. Okay, that's why we are studying this. And now we have the portfolio with risky and risk-free security. It doesn't mean we have to include risk-free security always. It may be there, may not be there, but we have to consider it. Okay. So with that, we have determined this equation of straight line, which is the efficient frontier equation for our portfolio when we have the risk-free security RF and risky security with return, say expected return E of R1, and then we get this expected return from portfolio with this is RF plus ER1 minus RF divided by sigma 1 into sigma P, where ERP is expected return of portfolio, sigma P is the risk of the portfolio. Portfolio means it has risky plus risk-free security. ER1 is expected return from the risky security, and sigma 1 is the risk of the risky security. So this gives us a straight line. Earlier, when we have only risky security, this portfolio was the hyperbola, right? It was the hyperbola that we have seen. This efficient frontier was the hyperbola, right? And now it is a straight line. So this is called CML equation. Okay, this is called the CML or capital market line equation. And then later on we have seen if we have so many risky security in our portfolio, say n risky, and we have one risk-free security, right? Then the equation of the CML is same. It is also straight line. Only thing E of R1 is replaced here with E of RM. Let me go to that. Yes, it is replaced with E of RM, where what is RM? RM is the return from market. This E of RM is written from market, and M stands to market portfolio. So yesterday I also introduced what is market portfolio. So it is having all stocks which are in the market. So if you are considering the Nifty, then Nifty has a 50 stocks. So if you have the same 50 stocks in proportion to their market cap, right? In proportion to their market cap in your portfolio, then whatever return you are getting is E of RM, that is the return from the market portfolio, right? But you might not have that all securities, so you have to compare your return with the market return, and your return is always affected by the market return. Okay, so this M point, which is a tangency portfolio, which we also call tangency portfolio, right? It is a market portfolio or tangency portfolio, right? And if we have a risk-free security along with such n risky security, then the efficient frontier will pass through these 2 points, RF as well as M. So we can say this ray is the tangency ray, which represents this CML, capital market line, and it represents the efficient frontier. So our portfolio lies on this line, right? Our portfolio, it should be efficient and it should lie on this line. And we must know the 2 parameters, that is RF as well as the ERM and sigma M. So market portfolio means its expected return and the risk, which is given by sigma RM and ERM and sigma M, and the RF, which is the risk-free rate. If we know this, we can calculate the expected return from our portfolio, right? E of RP. If we know the risk, or if we know the return, we can calculate the risk, or if we know the risk, we can calculate the return, or we can sketch the relation between the risk and return. Okay, so that's what we have seen yesterday in the CML, and we have derived this. It's an optimization problem. So the weights of the portfolio is linearly related to ERP, like in only N security case, right? We have got the same result here, right? Only difference is these two parameter AB. Earlier it was GH when we have only N risky securities, right? Otherwise the relation is linear between the weights of the portfolio and the expected return. Okay. So that's what we have discussed yesterday. And now we go to another important concept that is very fundamental in the financial engineering, that is called the CAPM, Capital Asset Pricing Model. So let me understood what is this model is. So after Markowitz mean variance portfolio analysis model, that's what we have studied up to this lecture. Okay, what we have studied is the Markowitz mean variance portfolio analysis model. The researchers begin investing in the stock market. So the researchers begin investing the stock market implication that would occur if all investors use the Markowitz two parameter model to make their investment decision. So suppose this the Markowitz mean variance portfolio analysis model is known to everyone. The researchers and then try to investigate it further by assuming that all are knowing this portfolio theory and all are investing based on this mean variance portfolio analysis proposed by the Markowitz. Then what are the implications, right? Because you know that the market is a, you can say it's like a very huge thing, right? Where there are so many securities with huge market capitalization, but individual investors are having part of it. Individual investors are part of it. And when any individual investor buy or sell something, it creates some extra demand or creates some extra supply by selling in bulk or by buying in bulk, right? So if all are trying to follow this, then when the investors trying to sell or buy securities, then they are creating some disturbance in this equilibrium. And what will happen to the security? Because of this disturbance, the researchers have tried to investigate it further. And as a result of this investigation, what is referred to as CAPM was developed. That is called Capital Asset Pricing Model. And that Capital Asset Pricing Model is called the Security Market Line. Remember this terms SML. It is same term as CAPM. So sometimes in some books it is written SML, Security Market Line. Sometimes it is called CAPM. Most common word is CAPM, Capital Asset Pricing Model. Okay. It is based on the CML concept. So CAPM or SML is based on the CML concept that we have studied yesterday. And we have to remember this CML concept. It is a straight line equation relating the expected return of portfolio and the return of portfolio, risk of the portfolio when we have a risk-free security in the portfolio along with the risky securities. And there are n risky security in our portfolio. But we must know what is ERM and sigma M, that is return of the market and the risk of the market. Return of the market or risk of the market you can calculate by knowing what is return or risk of the particular index, say Nifty or Sensex. If you are investing in mid cap, you have the Nifty mid cap. So I told that also yesterday. I hope all of you have searched. Anybody find anything new in that or want to discuss something? If you have done really, because these are very practical things that you have to do yourself. You have to relate this theory with the practicals. All things are there in the market. All whatever we are studying, right, are they based, the markets are based on this only. So have you gone through the Nifty mid cap index? How many stocks in the Nifty mid cap index? How it is varying with respect to time? Have you seen? Is there any correlation of Nifty mid cap index with the Nifty 50? Anybody can tell me?
Sir, I guess
yes.
in the last month it had a negative correlation.
Yeah, it has a negative correlation. Right. So large caps were increasing, means the Nifty was increasing, but the mid caps were decreasing. So that was a negative correlation. So see, and if you see just 1 or 2 months before, all were increasing. So there was a positive correlation, right? So you can see with respect to time how these parameters are changing. Okay, so we have to train our model based on the past data because this keeps on changing. So later on in the unit 2, we will see some training models like time series model. So where we have to consider all this. Okay, so that's very good observation. Okay, so let I expect all will do this exercise and study more practically. Anyway, let me go to CAPM. So what is CAPM? So now CAPM is relation in which the expected rate of return of any ith asset. Let I take any ith asset and its expected return E of Ri, and the CAPM says that it is a linear function of that asset's systematic risk. There are two kinds of risk associated now. We will see shortly. There are systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Some risk is systematic, means you can predict it. You can predict it. Systematic risk can be predicted or forecasted, but there is random or unsystematic risk, which is very difficult to predict, or you can say forecast, right? So there are always two kinds of risk associated that we see shortly, the systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Right now we are only having here systematic risk because we are comparing our security with the market. So that is called the systematic risk. How our security is varying with respect to market. Like our student has observed that mid cap index has a negative correlation was with Nifty in the last month, and before that it was having the positive correlation. Okay, so that is called the systematic risk, and it is represented by parameter beta I. Now today I give you one more assignment. Each security has its own beta. So you go through the money control site or any other site and find out the beta of different stocks, say Hindustan Unilever, Tata Steel, Infosys, Wipro, TCS, Reliance. Take this good 5-6 stocks and find their beta on this website. Don't do any data analytics yourself. We will do later on in MATLAB. You find the whatever beta available in the website of this for this month and just note down it and try to see the graph of that particular security with respect to time for last 1 year. Okay, and then try to obtain some judgment or some inference from it. Okay, and you will find some stocks are high beta, some stocks are low beta, and try to interpret what is high beta and low beta stocks. Okay, that is very important when you do the portfolio analysis or when you make your own portfolio, right? So that beta is very important parameter. That is actually called the asset systematic risk, right? So the CAPM says our expected return E of Ri is related linearly to this systematic risk beta I, and it is written like this. It is equal to RF plus E of RM minus RF into beta I. Now onwards, we must know RF. How to find RF? That I have introduced you. Go to GSEC. Okay. How to find ERM? It is expected return from market. So you have to analyze the Nifty or Sensex. Or if you are investing in mid cap, you have to analyze the mid cap index. Okay. From that you can find out E of RM, return from the market. And these two terms are known, RF and E of RM. Then we can have beta of particular security. And using this, we can find what is expected return of this security. How to find this beta? That again, we need to use the past data or historical data. But today you just go to the different websites and find out beta of this 6-7 good securities. And then if you find this and compare their graph or their, you can say, charts from last 1 year, then go to some mediocre securities, go to some mid cap securities. Okay, you find some mid cap securities. Say for an example, let I tell you, say Biocon, right? It is a pharma stock. It is a good company, but it is a mid cap company, right? So go to Biocon. Similarly, go to some other mid cap IT stocks like say Persistent, right? Go to another mid cap IT stock, say Mindtree. Okay, go to some mid-cap FMCG stocks like Imami, okay, or Marico, and then try to find their beta and compare this beta of this kind of stocks with the beta of the, you can say, large cap stocks like Hindustan Unilever or Reliance or TCS or Infosys, and try to get some inference. That's what your task today. Okay, so you can better understand this parameter beta. So here this beta I is the independent variable representing the systematic risk of ith asset. Okay, it is the independent variable representing the systematic risk of ith asset, and that determines the dependent variable, which is E of Ri, which is the expected return for asset I, as we know RF and ERM, right? Now, if you see this term, it is RF plus. So what we expect this term to be positive, this term to be positive. Now beta is mostly greater than 0. Beta is mostly greater than 0. So this beta you will find greater than 0. So this ERM minus RF must be positive to get ERI greater than RF. So what this term is called? ERM minus RF is called market risk premium. Why it is called market risk premium? Because you are investing in a market, the market itself should provide a return greater than the risk-free return. Suppose if this term is negative, then there is no fun in investing in any stock. There is no fun in investing in any stock, right? There is no fun in investing in any stock. So the expected return from market must be greater than RF, and this difference ERM minus RF is called market risk premium. It is called the market risk premium because you are investing in the risk security, so you are paying some premium because you are taking some risk. So you must get some premium, and that is the ERM minus RF, the expected return from market minus the risk-free rate. This quantity should be positive. Otherwise, there is no fun in investing in the market. Okay. So each expected return from CAPM. So if you have security I, security J, security K, likewise. So each expected return from CAPM can be interpreted as the risk-adjusted discount rate. You can see it is a risk-adjusted discount rate because RF is my risk-free rate. So this is due to risk. This is due to the beta and the ERM, right? This is due to the risk you are taking, extra risk you are taking. So it is called the risk-adjusted discount rate, okay, or cost of capital, or sometimes called equilibrium rate of return or capitalization rate. There are so many names. Need not to remember. We just remember a single name. It is a market risk premium, right? This ERM minus RF is a market risk premium, and each expected return from the CAPM we can interpret as the risk adjusted discount rate. Okay, so that is to be always be greater than RF. Otherwise, we are not motivated to invest anything in the risky security. Okay, so systematic risk is the main factor the risk-averse investors should consider in deciding whether a security yields enough rate of return to induce them to buy it. So this is the main factor that motivate any investor who is risk-averse, right? Some gamblers can do anything. We are not talking about traders or gamblers. We are talking about the risk-averse investors, right? Risk-averse investors. You also search for this term risk-averse on internet. You will find so many details. What is risk-averse investor? So if you are creating a portfolio for such common person who is always a risk-averse investor, right? Then you must decide the security very precisely based on this analysis. And if you find this factor ERI greater than the market, risk-free rate RF, then only you can buy. And for that, beta is the main important thing. So systematic risk is the main factor that risk-averse investors should consider in deciding whether to go in this investment or not go into this investment. So I hope this CAPM model is clear. It's just a linear equation. Now let me derive this CAPM. Why this is a linear relation? We derive this CAPM. So let me consider a portfolio P that consists of a proportion WI. So invested directly in arbitrary asset I. So there is an asset I which is a risky asset and its weight is WI in portfolio P, and 1 minus WI is invested in the market portfolio M. Let I straight away take only consider this portfolio consists of one security I with weight WI and all other weights 1 minus WI means all other proportion is invested in the market portfolio M. This market itself also consists the security I. Remember, the security I is also part of this market. So market means it's a Nifty or Sensex, whatever 30 or 50 stocks inside that. So let me assume this 1 minus WI portion is invested in the market, which also consists my security I, and I am buying this security I additionally. I am buying this security I additionally with weight WI. Okay. So what this WI represents the excess demand for this asset I, because I was buying all the securities in market, which includes my security I in the same proportion it was in the Nifty and Sensex or Sensex, right? But now I am buying it with some other weight WI, so I am demanding it more. So WI represents the excess demand for this asset I, since the market portfolio already contains this asset I in equilibrium. I hope you get this point. Okay. So now this portfolio will lie somewhere on the curve IM dash illustrated in figure. So what we are doing, we have this efficient frontier that we have discussed previously. If I have only n risky security, right? And if I have a risk-free rate exist in the market RF, then we have this efficient frontier CML. So there are two graphs here, this efficient frontier, okay, which represents actually the part of the opportunity set, and we have this CML, and these two are touching at point M, where M is what? Market portfolio. Okay, M is the market portfolio. Now I am doing a disturbance in the market by buying the market portfolio as well as one security I, which is a part of this market portfolio, and I buy it some proportion WI. So this curve will slightly disturb and it will have now shape around this M, which is IM dash, and it will be always pass through this point M. Why? Because this M corresponds to a point where my WI is actually 0. So if I have only market portfolio, right? So it will always pass through this point M. And this has a slightly different shape, or slight disturbance is created, which has a shape like this, IM dash. And what is this M dash endpoint? This M dash point is correspond to point is the market portfolio excluding the asset I. So this M dash is the, you can say, market portfolio M without this asset I. Suppose in market, if I exclude this asset I, then this point is represented here as M dash. Okay, so that means I have this actually curve I am M dash, where M is market portfolio, M dash is the point which exclude the asset I from the market portfolio, right? So this is what I am creating. And this curve IM dash is also tangent to my efficient frontier EF, which was my earlier at point M. And also we know that this CML, which is the efficient frontier when we have a risk-free security, is also tangent to this original efficient frontier EF. Okay. Now we do the analysis based on this geometry. So I hope this graph, how I got this graph, you have no doubt. Is there any doubt in this? Then you can clear how I got this. This CML we have studied earlier. This efficient frontier with risky security is a hyperbola that we got earlier. Now I am creating some disturbance in it by buying one security in some excess quantity, okay, with some weight WI, and I also have the market portfolio M, which includes this security itself. So I have created this disturbance, and because of that, my curve is little bit disturbed, and it's like this, I am M dash. And if I make my WI 0, then it is exactly at point M, right? I am holding only market portfolio. If I exclude this security I from market, then it corresponds to point M dash. Okay, so that's what the endpoint is. So are you getting this idea? Okay, so let me go with this discussion. So now my portfolio has two securities. One is market security M and another is the security I. Let I say return from security I is E of RI and return from market portfolio is E of RM. So I have expected return from portfolio is WI E of RI plus 1 minus WI E of RM, and risk of the portfolio sigma P is W1 square sigma 1 square. Here it is WI square sigma I square plus W2 square sigma 2 square. It is W2 is 1 minus WI whole square. Sigma 2 is what? Market risk sigma M square plus twice W1 W2, which is twice WI 1 minus WI into sigma 1 2, which is a covariance. So here it is sigma IM, covariance between risk of the security I and market. This is very important term, sigma IM, right? And whole raised to 1/2, because this is the formula for sigma P square. So I am only having sigma P. So now I know this ERP and sigma P in terms of the individual returns and market return, as well as individual risk and market risk and the covariance. Okay. Now what I do, I differentiate this ERP as well as differentiate this sigma P with respect to WI. So what I perform, D of ERP divided by D WI. So it's a linear relation. So you can easily differentiate. It will be ERI minus ERM. That's what we are getting here. And then similarly, you can perform this DWP, D sigma P divided by DWI. So that is involves this 1/2. So the differentiation, you have to include that 1/2 power, and then by simplification you get this. By simplification you get this. So you can do this easily, differentiation. Now this is differentiation of expected return with respect to weight and differentiation of risk with respect to the weight. So from this two I frame the rate of change of my return with respect to risk by finding D of ERP divided by D sigma P. And if I divide this to quantity, I get this particular, you can say, equation. Okay. Now I know this is what rate of change of return with respect to risk, right? This is what rate of change of return. So on horizontal line, we have this risk, and vertical line we have return. So what this represent? It is representing the slope of the tangents at different point on this efficient frontier. So it represents the slope of the tangent on this particular curve, this curve I am m dash, right? This curve I am m dash, which is involving this wi and 1 minus wi as the weights. Okay, so it represents the slope of the tangents at different points. I am interested in this point m, where my wi is 0, where my wi is 0. So let I find this d of ERP by d of sigma p at wi equal to 0. That is actually equilibrium condition. When I have wi 0, I have not created any excess demand. So if I substitute this wi 0, I get this equation from this. Okay. Also, we know that if I find the slope of tangent at this point M, it is actually equal to the slope of this CML, because CML is a tangent to the efficient frontier EF at point M, right? We all know that the CML, capital market line, is a tangent to this efficient frontier at point M, and the slope of the tangent at point M for this curve M dash is same as the slope of this line CML. We know the slope of the CML. We go to this equation. This is the slope of CML because it is y equal to mx plus c. So this is intercept, RF is intercept, and this is a slope. So that is what ERM minus RF by sigma m. So I can compare these two quantity, right? So ERM minus RF by sigma m equal to this, what we have got, and then simplify it. So I got this equation. This is called CAPM. What it is? E of Ri equal to RF plus ERM minus RF divided by sigma m square into sigma im. And now I denote this quantity sigma im by sigma m square equal to beta I. So that is the beta of the security. So what is it? Sigma im divided by sigma m square. So it is a covariance of this security I with respect to market divided by the risk or variance of the market, right? So you see this beta actually determines how the risk of your security varies with respect to the risk of the market. Are you getting this? It is sigma im divided by sigma m square. So if I substitute it with beta I get this CAPM equation. ERI equal to RF plus ERM minus RF into beta I. So you can say this. RF plus ERM minus RF, I substitute sigma im by sigma m square equal to beta I. So I get this linear equation which relates the ERI with beta, right? And what beta is? It is a ratio of this two quantity, sigma im divided by sigma m square. What is sigma im? Covariance of security I with respect to market divided by variance of the market. Variance of the market means risk of the market. Okay. So you can see it represents how your risk of the security I varies with respect to risk of the market. So can anybody tell me if I get beta equal to 1, what it means? If I get beta equal to 1, what it means? This is very important, and you have to interpret this when you see the practical value of beta that I have given you as an assignment. What is meaning of beta equal to 1?
It means the stock is generating stock returns according to the market.
Right. It is perfectly related with the market. The security is varying in the same proportion as market. It is moving with the market. It is in momentum, right? If market is in the positive momentum, it will be in the same momentum, right? So beta equal to 1 means this stock will deliver you the same return the market is delivering. Okay. If beta is greater than 1, what it means? The security is delivering return higher than the market return. So that is called aggressive investment, right? So if your beta I is greater than 1, it is called aggressive investment. The security is aggressive. Okay. That is called high beta stock. If beta is less than 1, it is called defensive, right? It is varying less compared to the market. Okay. So now varying means what? It may vary positively, it may vary negatively. So when you do aggressive investment, so it may generate the higher return than the market. But when the market falls, when the market generates the negative return, this security will generate the higher negative return. Okay, so that's why it is called aggressive investment. So it is again the same philosophy, higher return, higher risk. I hope you got this theoretical concept and compare it with the practical values of beta. Then you have the much more understanding of this concept. Okay. So I hope this CAPM model or security market line model is clear. And here I have plotted this complete graph of this SML on ERI versus beta I, right? And we have seen if beta equal to 1, exactly it is delivering ERM market return when beta is 1. If beta is 1, beta is less than 1, the return is less than market. If beta is greater than 1, the return, expected return is greater than market. And you can see even beta can be negative. Even beta can be negative. When beta is 0, the return is RF. The return is RF when beta is 0, right? But if beta is negative, you can see the return is less than RF. This should be a, you can say, alarming situation. If your portfolio is including this, it is an alarming, right? At least we should have return greater than RF. We have to exclude this security if we are moving here, right? So as a portfolio manager, you should keep eye always on data. Always you need to look at such graphs, right? Whenever you move into this territory, you have to exclude this security, right? Because its beta is turning to be negative. So I hope you are getting this CAPM model. Okay, now from this we can deduce a good inference which is called over and underpriced security. So let me take a stocks whose estimated end of period price is EP1. So as a portfolio manager, let I pick up a security 1 and I have some estimate based on its past data. I have some expectations, say in some period, say 1 year or 2 year or 5 year, the expected price of the stock will reach to this EP1, expected price of say stock 1. And right now its price is P0. Then the expected return ER of this security is EP1 minus P0 by P0. So I can write it, say EP1 by P0 minus 1. Suppose P0 is right now too low, then definitely the expected return will be too high, right? This ER will be too high. That means we have this ER greater than RF plus ERM minus RF into beta. So if I mark a point for this security on ERI versus beta I plane, it is somewhere here, say this L point, right? It is somewhere here. And I am getting this ER greater than, means expected return from this security may be greater than RF plus ERM minus RF into beta. Based on my past data, this gives me this, sorry, not past data, based on the present price and the estimated price, I'm finding ER. And this ER I am getting here greater than this calculation. RF is fixed quantity, ERM is there, right? Which I can calculate by looking at Nifty or Sensex. Beta of the stock is known, right? So looking at this, if I am getting ER greater than this quantity, this ER is calculated based on this, my estimated price and the present price. Okay. And if I get the point here, what it means? This security is underpriced. This security is underpriced because the expected return as per my calculation, as per my estimated expected price of this stock is coming here. This ER is greater than this quantity. So that means this security is located here, and it is which kind of security? It is underpriced security. It is the underpriced security because it will generate the return more in future. It can generate a future more. Right now it is underpriced. So if you find your point here after analysis, but you have to find this EP1. That depends on your port. That depends on the you can say smartness of the portfolio manager. Okay, how you are using the historical data to predict the future price. That models we will see later on, how to predict the future price. That we will see later on. So that depends on the smartness of the portfolio manager. And if you find your point here, you can judge, you can have a judgment, the security is underpriced. And whenever the demand will increase, this resulting bidding up of the P0 will lower ER. Whenever this P0 will increase in, you can say when the time passed, right? then this ER will become lower and will continue to lower until it will reach the equilibrium, right? On the opposite side, if you find your security is located here, right, below this SML, this is SML line. If you find it below this SML, means you find ER less than this. So by analysis, I find EP1 and present price is deterministic, which is known. And by that I have determined ER, and this beta and all others are given quantity. So if you calculate this ER and it is found that ER is less than this particular thing, RF plus ERM minus RF into beta, then your point is located here. So all points which are located below SML indicates the overpriced security. So right now the security is overpriced. So right now avoid it, buy it, right? Buy it whenever you find equilibrium. Buy it whenever you find equilibrium. So whenever you find this expected return equal to this, you can buy it. Or if you find the point above this SML, it will become underpriced, and then you can buy it. So this is very important. So using this SML, you can observe the overpriced and underpriced security. You read this slide once again, and then now relate the beta that you have find from the website of some stock. Then you try to find the expected return from the market. You get that data also from some website. RF you can find from the some you can say GSEC, and try to calculate ER, and also say predict some future price of the Reliance and take its present price and try to find whether it is underpriced or overpriced. This EP1 just to predict from the you can say past data how the curve is moving. Based on that, take a slope, just simple linear regression you do, and find this EP1 and see whether it is underpriced or overpriced. I am leaving it to you because it is better if you do this, right? Practically, it is better if you do this practically. This is just a rough thing. We are not taking any programming, but later on we will do it in programming. So I hope this part is clear. Any doubt in that? This is very important. I take a break of 1 minute. If you have any doubt, you can discuss. Shall I repeat this discussion? This CAPM is very important. We have introduced this parameter beta I, which is related to average security. OK, and the expected return of security is linearly related to this parameter beta I, which is called systematic risk. This beta I is called systematic risk, and we have derived that this beta I is actually what? Sigma IM divided by sigma M square. It is covariance of the security I with market M divided by the risk given by the variance of the market. OK, so it indicates how the risk of my security varies with respect to the risk of the market. Based on this, if I have some estimated price of any stock and the present price, which is always available, I can find my expected return. And if based on the CAPM model, if I have determined the ER, which is obtained by knowing RF, beta, and the ERM, which are known mostly, and if I found this ER by my analysis is greater than this, right, then my security is underpriced. I can buy it, and shortly the price of this stock will lift, right? It will bidding up, right? And it will keep on bidding up until it will reach this equilibrium, right? It may cross this SML, then it may cross this SML, right? It may cross this SML. If it will move below this, then it is the overpriced. It will become overpriced. So in that case, what we do in the overpriced case, we should avoid it. We should avoid it. Whenever the security is on SML, we can buy it, but it gives you the return almost same as market. If it is above SML, we can always buy. It is underpriced security, right? And it will generate the returns higher than the market return. So is it clear? All right. So let me now go to the next topic, which is the modeling the return generating process. Now you say that how to model this return generating process. So there are so many models. We are seeing very simple model, which is called single index model. What is meaning of model? Model means a mathematical or statistical equation. That's it. Model means mathematical or statistical equation, and it has some parameter, model parameter, some constants, right? Which we have to find based on the past data. That's it. So remember this term model. Whenever you go to any machine learning or any optimization or any analytic and big data analytics, you must come across the term model. So what is model? Model is a relation of the quantity by some mathematical or statistical equation, right? So here we are using a single index model for return generating process. So they are simplest and most popular type of generating process used to explain what economic forces create investors' returns, right? Because the returns are keep on changing. So there are some driving force to it, and that are the economic force. Now the return generating process is always a random. It will not be a, you can say deterministic, but we have to model it by using some equations. So at least we can have some idea, right? We can have an idea of its trend or its mean value. Okay. So they are also used to estimate a firm's undiversifiable systematic risk. So the single index model for any return is given by Markowitz, and it is given by this equation called RIT equal to alpha I plus beta I into RMT plus epsilon IT, where this RIT is a return of security I in period T. Now I am also taking a period T. So return of security I in period T is denoted by RI. Then this return of the security is given by this model, which is saying it is equal to alpha I plus beta I into RMT plus epsilon IT. This alpha I, beta I are constants of this model. And what is RMT? It is the return of market in same period T. It is return from market in same period T. So I'm relating my return of the security with the return of the market. And that is related by this linear model. This is a single index linear model. It is equal to alpha I plus beta I RMT plus epsilon IT. What is this epsilon IT? It is a random term. It is a residual. It is unexpected residual error term for asset I. See, if it was alpha I plus beta I into RMT, then it is exactly a linear relation like this. But actually, it is like fluctuating from this linear relation like this. If you plot a graph of RIT versus RMT, means market return of the market return during the time period T for the with respect to the return of the security I for the same time period T, then if you find these points, these are always not on the some straight line, but there are some, you can say, deviation from this straight line. So this term is called epsilon IT, which is the residual, or it is the error term. It is the residual, and it's unexplained residual error. It is a random, and this error is always assumed to be having zero mean value. Means sometimes this error is positive, sometimes this error is negative, right? So sometimes your return may be higher than market, sometimes it may be lower than market. So you can model your security return with respect to the market return with this equation. This is a simple model. There may be some other accurate model which may be higher order. This is a linear model. Okay, it is alpha I plus beta I RMT plus epsilon IT, where this alpha I and beta I are actually representing the intercept and the slope of this particular line, which models this RIT. Okay, what it take in consideration? RMT. It is always with respect to RMT. Okay, because RMT is the benchmark for us. So this model is based on assumption that the joint probability distribution of RIT and RMT is a stationary. Means stationary model means what? The probability distribution will not change with respect to time. So when we move from say some period T to twice T, then the probability distribution, joint probability distribution remains same, and it is a bivariate model. This all terms you are learning in the probability and statistics for data science, right? I hope you recollect what is the joint probability distribution and the probability distribution model. All right. Right now we are not going in detail, but if this model is not changing with respect to time, this particular if this assumption is there, then this model is valid. Okay. And there are some other assumptions we are making here related to this epsilon IT, which is the random term. First one, as I mentioned, expected value of this epsilon IT is 0, means it is a zero mean random error. Okay, it's sometimes positive, sometimes negative. On an average, this random term giving me zero mean value. Also, the variance of this is constant, right? The variance of this random term denoted by sigma epsilon I square is a constant, right? And this kind of you can say a random variable is called the homoscedastic. So we are not going in detail of it, but we are assuming it is a zero mean process with constant variance. Also, the covariance of epsilon it with RMT is 0. There is no correlation of this random term with the market return. This random term is a random. It is not having any relation with this market term. It is independent of this. It is uncorrelated. Okay. So the covariance of epsilon it with RMT is 0. Also, these random error terms are serially uncorrelated. Means if you find this error for some time period t and then other time period s, then there is no covariance on this. So it is a completely uncorrelated random error. Okay. Also, it is for security I and security j. If I find epsilon it and epsilon jt, then also there is no covariance. So that's what my assumption is this. So with this assumption, this model is valid. So I know market return and I know the security return. So I can find the alpha I beta I by linear regression. I can find this alpha I beta I by doing linear regression. So anybody can tell me what is linear regression? If I find some data points, means RIT, RMT, some points, I can find the linear regression, means I can estimate this parameter alpha and beta, okay, by allowing some error, that is epsilon it. Can anybody tell me what is regression? This term is very common in machine learning, in optimization, in data science. It is very common term. Can anybody tell me what is regression? All right, so you search for this term also because these are very important term. Anyway, so based on this our model is, you can say valid, and let I go through this mode and yes, so I want to go to this side. Okay, so now my RIT is alpha I plus beta I into RMT. So alpha and beta I can find from this data points available, means RIT, RMT, the different points available. I can regress and find alpha and beta, and I can have this term. So this alpha I plus beta I into RMT is called systematic part, and this random error is called the unsystematic part. I cannot do anything with this. It is always there. So RIT involves a systematic part as well as the unsystematic part. So it involves the systematic risk as well as some unsystematic risk, which now we are interested in finding. So that we will do in a next lecture. Okay. So next lecture is belongs to the practical, but first in a 15 minutes, I will finish this unit 1, right? Because we have now only one topic left out, right? And then we go to the practical for this week, which is involving the bond yield, right? I have given you some exercise in the last lab session. Hopefully you have done it. So if you have not done it, we solve your doubts and we go to the last experiment for the bond yields, means risk-free securities. And then from the next week onwards, we start unit 2 in the theory, and in practical, we start with the portfolio analysis. So that is very important. We use some data from the Nifty or some data from the stocks, some stocks that are available, historical data in the NSE website or BSE website or money control website. And then based on this, we generate this portfolio analysis. So I hope our goal is clear now onwards. But before we go to the practical, you complete this unit 1. And now after next week, you have your internal assessment 1. And for that, we have in syllabus our complete unit 1. Okay. Any question or any doubt? So I am telling all this term in advance. So then later on, don't tell me that I have not given the instruction. So any doubt? So let I end the recording.